I'm Bob Hallmark in studio in Longview today, and let's talk about weather. It has been a very unusual July. For us here in East Texas, this is the time that we usually are drying out and seeing intense heat, but it's been very different. There has been a lot of rainfall. Now, we want to explain what's happening here and get a kind of an overview. And to do that, we're joined now by a climatologist with the Texas A&M, and we're joined now by Dr. John Nielsen Gammon. Uh, Doctor, I guess our first question is, let's go ahead and explain, I guess, the art of climatology. What is it that you do?
Well, basically, climatology is studying the statistics of the weather. So we look at historical events, we look at current weather conditions, we look at the future and try to put everything in context.
All right, so it's basically it's an overall study of weather pattern, I guess. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. Like we do try to find patterns, although sometimes the weather's just plain random.
Now, I'm not going to delve into the theories of climate change or anything like that, but what we do want to talk about is what's happened here in East Texas and Texas overall. This has been very unusual. There has been, for lack of a better term, there have been more cloudy, rainy days than there have been sunny days here in July. Your interpretation, I guess, of what's going on here.
Well, it's not just the Longview area. Basically, all of East Texas is on track to have what could be its wettest July on record. The most recent comparable July was back in 2007. You'd have to go much farther back than that to find other Julys that were wet across the entire region. And this is in a sense a welcome change from having had fairly dry conditions the past couple summers, but as with Texas weather in general, it rarely does things in moderation.
Well, I'm not going to complain about the temperatures, but it has been very nice here in July. We haven't roasted, which we usually this time of the year we're getting into that intense heat that carries over into August and even September. But is somebody brought this up, and I think there is some truth to that. Does the weather run in cycles? In other words, do we see a periodic repeat of things like this?
It's somewhat cyclical, but mainly that's in the winter time when we have a big influence from El Nino and La Nina, because that's operating on like a 2 to 7 year erratic cycle. The summertime is quite a bit more random. It depends upon where specific weather systems arrange themselves. This this summer we've had upper level disturbances coming into the central United States, whereas the western United States has been under a lot of heat, for example. And it's hard to predict ahead of time where that sort of thing is going to set up. Now, there is some persistence in the weather in the summer because you mentioned we had fairly mild temperatures. Those are going to continue for a while because with all this moisture in the ground, the plants are happy, the trees are happy. They're going to be evaporating water and utilizing it like crazy, and that's going to help keep temperatures down. It won't help the humidity very much, but it will help keep summer temperatures within reasonable bounds.
Okay. Uh, Question. I don't know whether this plays into this or not, but does La Nina and El Nino factor into any of this?
Yeah, they mainly are affecting our weather during the winter time because they affect the position of the jet stream, and for the most part, the jet stream is too far north to bother us in the summer. But it does play a role with hurricanes because it's affecting the tropical weather conditions that determine whether they can form and intensify. Right now, although the Pacific insect conditions are neutral, so we have neither an El Nino nor La Nina. We're expecting La Nina to develop by the fall sometime, but right now we're sort of in between those two possibilities.
Okay. Are there positives and negatives to any of this?
Well, we do a lot of drought monitoring here, and we don't have to worry about East Texas for a while. So water supplies are doing great as long as there's not sewage overflowing somewhere. Um, and that's gonna persist for a while. We're expect to have potentially a relatively dry winter because of La Nina developing, but having the moisture in the ground now when things are usually drying out means that there'll still be water available during the fall, even if the spigot shuts off temporarily.
Okay. So obviously, nothing to really concern ourselves with right now. The rain is good because farmers always want it, ranchers, that sort of thing. Um, I'm guessing you can't have too much of a good thing unless we're looking at flooding here.
Well, I mean, even for farming, you have to get out in the field every once in a while to manage the crops and harvest. So we do have to have a few weeks of dry weather sometime in here for the cotton crop to get harvested and other things like that to happen.
All right, Doctor, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
All right, you're welcome.
All right, and we'll have more on this story tonight on KLTV 7 News for KLTV Web Extra. I'm Bob Hallmark.